please and tell us your position with the ISU News Service?
Sure. My name's Annette Hacker. I'm Director of News Service here at Iowa State.
Okay. And how do you decide what news and articles to cover, and how do you obtain them?
Well, in a number of different ways. First, every day we're looking at what's happening in the news cycle here in Iowa, in the U.S., around the world, and then we look at who do we have on the faculty as experts who might be able to provide perspective on that story, to provide some insight on that story, because every day our work with the media is a little bit like being a matchmaker. They're looking for sources, and we have sources, and as long as they're filling their newspapers and web content and airwaves with experts, they may as well be ours as the University of Nebraska's or Purdue's or somewhere else. So that's one way that we decide how to, what to cover and how to distribute it, is what's happening in the news that day. We also look at what breakthrough research and projects and interesting things are our faculty doing. What topics are affecting, what's the buzz about, what topics are affecting campus and beyond campus. And then, every day there's more news that happens than you ever have time to cover, but certainly we prioritize. Typically News Service covers those stories that are of broad external interest, far beyond campus.
Thank you. And finally, how do you distribute these news and information to Iowa State?
Well, first of all, we get our story ideas from any and all places. Sometimes we're generating our own story ideas. Other times the media are calling us saying, I'm covering this type of a story, do you have an expert on? Other times a communications colleague across campus will let us know about an interesting project. Basically, you just have to have a nose for news all the time. For instance, yesterday I was speaking with a student in the Greenlee School of Journalism who just completed an internship at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. Would have loved to have known about that before he went to the internship instead of afterward, because we're covering news, we're not writing history books. But that said, I told him, when you graduate this spring, he was telling me about all these connections, how he got this internship and all the Iowa State connections out in Las Vegas, which is unusual and cool and no one would expect it. So I said, if you end up getting into the gaming industry and doing that after you graduate and there's still all these Iowa State ties, let us know, because that would be a great graduation story. It's the unexpected. News is not the normal, the usual. It's the interesting, the unique, the new, the unusual. That's what makes it news. So can get story ideas from any and all sources, and then distributing it so many ways. We email reporters in the hopes that they will cover the news. We use our own website and social media platforms to tell our own news. In the old days, public relations, media relations practitioners had to rely on the media to carry their water for them, to cover the news. We are now both retailers and wholesalers of news. So we have our own methods to share our news online, and also look to the third-party endorsement of external media to also cover our news.
All right. Well, that was perfect.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.